In the last section, we used the Create React App tool to generate a brand new client-side React project. I'm now in my server directory still. If I list out all the different files and folders I have inside of here, I should now see a new folder called Client. This client folder is what houses everything having to do with the React side of our application. If I change into that directory and then list out all the different files, I can now see a couple different things that are related to just the React side. So this is all stuff that we got for free when we generated our new project. Now the first thing I want to tell you about this new React project that we just generated is that it has its own built-in server. Okay, it has its own built-in server. In order to start up the React side of our application, we can run the command npm start while inside of the client directory. So I'll run npm start, and then we'll get a little message that says, okay, we're starting up the development server. Any second now. There we go. So starting the development server, we get automatically kicked over to the browser. You should have a tab open up automatically that tries to take you to localhost 3000. And then if you try visiting that and wait just a couple minutes for the development server to finish starting up, you'll then see some boilerplate that we got for free when we generated the React application. And okay, so here it is. The application is now available on localhost 3000. And if I go back over to the browser, here's the React application. Okay, so let's figure out how to change some stuff inside that project. Back inside my code editor, I can now find the client directory. I'll find the src folder. I'll find the app.js file, and we'll do the very classic change here. I'm going to find the h2 that says welcome to React, and I'm going to replace it with something else. And I'm just going to say my classic thing for testing stuff out, which is hi there. So I'll make that change. I'm going to save the file. When I go back over to the browser, the application is going to automatically refresh. So there it is right there. And here's our change. Okay? So that's pretty much it for getting the development server for the React side of our application started up and running. Now, before I take things too far, or before we go too far into detail about what's going on here, you might have a little bit of a question. You might say, the React application has its own server. Why does the React application have its own server? We've already got the Express application. Why aren't we using Express to do this React stuff? That is a very good question. And when I was kind of scaring you away in the last section by saying there's going to be some really confusing stuff, all that confusing stuff, it all comes down to the fact that we now have a second server running for our development environment. Okay? The fact that we now have a second server is what is going to cause us at some point a lot of headache. Only the headache on the part of figuring out how the stuff works internally. The actual setup of everything, again, I can't say it enough, will be straightforward. So with that in mind, I want to give you a couple different reasons that we are going to make use of a separate development server for the React side of our application. And I also want to show you a diagram that just very clearly lays out how things are now going to be structured in our application. So let's look at the kind of overall architecture first. So at the very top, we've got our browser. Down here, we have this new React server. And then over here, we've got the Express server, which we've been working on a whole bunch throughout this course. Now you have a good idea of what's going on with the Express server already because we put it together, right? The Express server pulls some information out of MongoDB, and then it can respond to requests that the browser makes with some amount of JSON or something that says hey, here's your user model, or here's how you go through the OAuth flow, and all that kind of good stuff. So the Express server is really solely concerned with generating JSON data and nothing else. It serves data, it doesn't do a darn thing besides that. Now the React side of our application, however, this React server, is going to eventually take a bunch of different component files. So these are all, you can imagine being React components right here. It's going to take them all together. It's going to bundle them all together using Webpack and Babel. And then it's going to spit out a single bundle.js file that will be loaded up into the browser. So we can now kind of imagine that we've got one server for serving up our front-end application assets, and then the second server that serves up all the different data inside of our application, okay? Now this still doesn't quite answer the question of why we have two servers. Why couldn't we just stick these things together and figure out some way for the Express server to generate and build our React application. Well, you know what? I'll be honest with you. We absolutely could do that. That is absolutely, unequivocally, without a doubt, an option. We could say that we want to figure out how to build a really smart Express server, and inside of that server was going to be all the logic for building our React application and serving it up to the browser, right? Something like this. We could have figured that out at great pain. Well, maybe not a lot of pain, but we could have figured it out, right? It wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world. So the reason that we are using two separate servers here is one just very simple, one very straightforward and simple reason. And that is the fact that Create React App is bar none the best way to get started with building React applications. Create React App has so much pre-built configuration already placed into it that it's going to save us so much time in trying to wire together Webpack and Babel and the development server, you know, all this bundling stuff and all these other dependencies, all the CSS handling, all these other Webpack plugins, all this stuff we get just out of the box for free with Create React App. And so just using Create React App right here saves us a tremendous amount of time and is worth this extra development or this extra time it takes to figure out exactly how to make the two of them work together nicely. So at the end of the day, the reason we're using this separate React server is that using Create React App is absolutely worth it, and it gives us a ton of awesome functionality right out of the box. So rather than setting up all this React stuff from scratch, we're going to be spending some time just figuring out how to make the React server and the Express server work together nicely. And again, I'm going to say it for the third time now, getting them to work together nicely is very simple, very straightforward, and we're going to start it in the next section. It is understanding how they work together. That is where a lot of these challenges come from, okay? All right, so with that said, now that we've got a little bit of a better idea of this overall architecture right here, let's take a quick break. When we come back in the next section, we're gonna figure out how to get these two things to work together nicely, and we'll just go ahead and do it. So I'll see you in the next section.